Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's head-to-head comparison, let's take a look at the all-new 2025 Mazda CX-5. This is a Turbo Premium. We'll compare it to the all-new 2025 Volkswagen Tiguan SEL-R line. Now, the CX-5 in general starts just over $28,000 versus closer to $29,000 for the Volkswagen. And in today's review, this Turbo Premium behind me is going to be closer to $38,000. The SEL-R line is going to be closer to $43,000. Now keep in mind, there is one trim level above this CX-5 to put it a little bit closer in price with the Volkswagen, but this is what I have to work with for today's video. So let's get right into it. Now this is powered by the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder turbo. It's paired to a 6-speed automatic. It pumps out 256 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent through the all-wheel drive system, propelling this 3,800-pound SUV from 0 to 60 in 6.2 seconds. It has a top speed of 129 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 15.3 gallons, and you'll expect to see it 22 miles per gallon in the city and 27 out on the highway. Now this is powered by the 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo. It's paired to the 8-speed automatic, and it pumps out 201 horsepower, 221 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent through the 4-motion all-wheel drive system, propelling this 3,800-pound SUV from 0 to 60 in 7.7 seconds. It has a top speed of 114 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 15.6 gallons, and you'll expect to see it 22 miles per gallon in the city and 30 out on the highway. Now, as we take a look at the exterior styling, this definitely has a very subtle design to it, but with this blue paired with all the gloss black, it also has some great contrast to it. Now up front, you'll notice the massive Mazda badge, which is also the sensor for distance pacing. There's a forward-facing camera, plenty of cutouts in that grille too to provide additional cooling, along with the cutout in the lower section. Now there's also parking sensors too, and then LEDs for all of the lighting. You'll notice they have a sunken design to them, so there's some of the bodywork that sticks out just to give it a nice integrated look. And then there's also some more gloss black accents for that lower section of the bumper, and then a few lines coming down the hood to give it a great look. Now, as we move on to the exterior styling, this has a lot of differences compared to the previous generation. You'll notice first up, there's LED lighting, which is not new, but there's also a DRL strip that runs all the way towards the VW badge right in the middle. So that DRL gives it a really nice look, and then the dark housings blend in nicely with the rest of the gloss black accents. Now this model also features a forward-facing camera. There's some cutouts in that grille too, along with parking sensors in the lower section and a lot more cutouts. Now there's also active grille shutters located in the back there to open and close as needed. And there's also huge inlets on both sides with more of the gloss black accents to provide some better airflow. And then really subtle lines coming down the hood just to give it a nice stylish look. Now as we work our way to the side, you'll notice there's more gloss black for the wheels. It's even on the fender arches too. So it goes from that lower section up front, around the fender arches, and it's in the lower side skirt. Now it's also on the mirror caps where there's a turn signal and a camera too. And then you'll notice there's some chrome trim accents for the lower window trim. Now this also has a sunroof up top, and then some very nice subtle lines flowing down the side. And hopefully you can tell in this lighting, this blue has a really nice crystal effect to it. Now this model also has a two-tone design for these wheels, and you'll notice the fender arches are finished off in gloss black, so tying in with the front end design. There's also an R badge just underneath the side mirrors, which have a camera and a turn signal, and then they have the body colored mirror cap. You'll notice there's some chrome for the window trim, brushed accents for the roof racks, and then a full moonroof up top. And then as we take a step back, really nice proportions and the lines that run down the side. And the new Tiguan is also a 2-row SUV now instead of having the 3rd row. So it is a little bit shorter in that back panel there simply because it does not have that 3rd row anymore. But it has a really nice design to it. Now up top, there's also the body colored spoiler with a 3rd brake light. Wiper blade is in the lower section. There's also LEDs for the lighting, backup camera, all the parking sensors, and then the dual exhaust. Now, from what I've read, the CX-5 can tow around 2,000 pounds. It's probably better for a bike rack or something like that, but you can at least put a hitch on this if you need to do that. Now, as we work our way to the cargo space, you can use the button on the key fob or the control underneath to open up the power liftgate. Now, once in back for this smaller SUV, there's actually a pretty good amount of space. Now I can also lift up the floor where there is a spare tire, and you do have some compartments. You could place some small items if needed. Now, as you can tell, this cover is currently installed, so you can use that as well. And then you'll notice on both sides, you can actually fold down the back seats. So on this left side, you can fold the middle seat down individually, and then you have the additional controls for the left seat and the right seat. So you can get a lot of storage in the back of this SUV, just depending on how you are going to use it. And then up top, there's one control to close the liftgate. And you'll notice too in back, that trim accent comes all the way to the back of the vehicle where there's some gloss black accents, body colored spoiler with a third brake light. Wiper blade is in the lower section, and then as you can tell with the illuminating lights, the Volkswagen badge also lights up red, which is neat to see. There's LEDs for all of that lighting, of course, backup camera, all of the parking sensors, and then you'll notice some plastic for the lower section of the bumper there. Now this does have remote start, so if you lock on it and double tap this button, you can start it up as needed. And then you can just double tap that again, shut it off, and you have lock and unlock and the liftgate release. If you don't want to use the key fob, you can use the control underneath to open up that power operating liftgate. Now in back, there's still a decent amount of space. You do have some storage underneath the floor, so just by lifting this up, there's a spare tire. You might be able to fit a few items down there, but there's also this massive cubby on the left side. Now you can also fold down the back seats from the back, so that's very convenient to do. And then you'll notice you have some hooks as well, the dome lights. There's a 12 volt and then a little bit of storage tucked away up front there. So definitely plenty of space for this smaller SUV. And then you can easily close the liftgate. Now there's no proximity door handles in the back, so you would have to unlock it from the front door handles or from the key fob. Now this has a really nice interior. You'll notice there's two different colors for the stitching there. A little bit of storage down below. This is also equipped with the Bose audio. And then CX-5 is also an illuminating badge on the door sill, and then there's a really nice design for these seats. And then to fold them down from the back seats, just grab this lever by the headrest there, and you can fold these pretty much flat. You can also get the seatbelt out of the way if you need to, but it's definitely going to give you a lot of interior space, and as you can tell, it actually picked up that middle seat there. Now at 5'10", I have a good bit of space. There's vents in the middle, you have storage pockets on both sides, and then at my height, I have maybe 2 inches or so of headroom, so it's actually pretty spacious for this smaller size. Now you would have to move this seat up just a little bit more, but just depending on who is in the vehicle, you can easily make this work. And then right in the middle, you'll notice there's cup holders. You get a little bit of storage with some auxiliaries in the backside of this armrest, and these are even heated seats. Very interesting to see the placement of those, so you do have to have this down in order to operate those. Very interesting to see that. But then you also have those small cargo windows right here, so that way you can see better around that pillar. Now as we work our way up front, you'll notice a lot of storage in the lower section. There's all the window controls, side mirror adjustments too, and then some nice trim accents in the upper section. Same illuminating badge down below. And then the driver's seat is power operating. There's memory seating adjustments too with the rest of those controls, and a great design for these seats. Now this is a low SUV, so it's very easy to enter and exit, where we're greeted with a leather steering wheel that has red stitching throughout it. Now if the vehicle is locked for whatever reason, there's no proximity door handles on the back, but you can simply just grab the front or the key fob to unlock them. Really nice design for this interior. This features Harman Kardon for the sound system. There's a good bit of storage down below, some stitching on the armrest there. And then from this angle, you can see you can remove this cover, of course, so you have a lot more interior space, and you can easily release the seat and lock it into place, where they have a two-tone design for this model. So very nice to see that. Now at 5'10", it's extremely easy to hop into the back. You do have storage pockets, there's vents in the middle, you get heated rear seats along with the auxiliaries below that. And then at my height, I have about 2 inches or so of headroom, but I can sit upright and be comfortable. Now these seats do not recline, but they are angled back slightly just to give you a little bit more comfort. Right in the middle, there's your cup holders and armrest, and then you have those small cargo windows to help see around this pillar in the back. So it's definitely very beneficial to have. Now up front, there's lock and unlock up top with the release handle. The side mirror adjustments, which are also heated and power folding. There's window controls, and then the liftgate release and more storage down below. Now this also has memory seating adjustments, and you get massaging seats, which is very nice. And then the rest of the automatic adjustments for these seats. And then again, it's a low SUV, so it's easy to hop into, where we are greeted with a solid and perforated leather steering wheel. The R logo is in the lower section there. And then with my foot on the brake, we can just push on the start button and bring this to life, where we can move on to the gauge cluster now, where on the left side, you'll notice the tach. On the right side, there's also your fuel, engine temperature, and then your speedometer and what gear you're in are right in the center. Now, to go through a little bit of information in the gauge cluster, you have an info button on the left side of the steering wheel. So if I just push on that, you can toggle between all of this information. So you have a few things that you can monitor, and that is about it, just by pushing on that control. Now you'll also notice there's volume, tuning, there's some Bluetooth controls, and then on the right side you have cruise control along with lane keeping assist. Now this also has paddle shifters on both sides, so you can use those as needed. And then on the left side, there's the hood and fuel cap release. There's also the liftgate release. There's the lane keeping assist, parking sensors, and you can push on the view button. So this is how you can bring up the camera system, and you can push on that a few different times depending on the angle that you would like to see. And this is all with the vehicle in park at the moment. So we'll come back to the rest of that camera system here soon. This also has a head-up display, so it's currently showing miles per hour. And then with the infotainment system, currently I have my phone paired to this system. And then in order to get back into the normal Mazda system, you can just push on the Mazda icon there or hold on the home button down below for a second or two. And now we can go through this information where you just have some info here that you can monitor. You can get into entertainment, so all of your audio adjustments. You can look at your phone when you have that paired, navigation, and a few settings you can go through just to configure this as needed. Now again, what's interesting is that this is not a touchscreen system, so you do have to use the controls down below. And then if you want to go into your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you go up or down depending on what kind of phone you have, or you can just hold that home button again down below, where now we have the touchscreen system. So you can go through this, you can quickly get back into this here, and then just pump down on that dial. So you can go between both of them, and then you have touchscreen and non-touchscreen. Again, would be nice if everything was symmetrical or the same there. Now you have air vents underneath that, along with the heated steering wheel. And then this also gets heated and ventilated seats. So you have heated up top, ventilated at the bottom. There's temperature adjustments, your fan speed, where you'd like the air to go, and the rest of those adjustments. Now this also has wireless charging along with an auxiliary down below. And then to put this into reverse, we'll just pull this back, where you'll notice that there's a few different angles. Now again, it's not a touch screen to be able to quickly do that. You have to reach over to the left side and push that view button that I showed earlier to toggle between both of those angles. And then same thing when we put it into drive. You get 3 different angles there, where you have to use that view button to go through these 3. Again, would be nice to see it being touchscreen for some simple features like that. You can also put this into the manual mode and shift with the shifter or with the paddles. Now there's also a few different driving modes that will pop up front and center: off-road, normal, and sport. So you can use those as needed. There's auto hold with the e-brake, and then all of those adjustments, including volume for your audio. There's 2 cup holders, and then you have this removable tray along with auxiliaries and a little bit of storage. There's also the glove box, which has a good bit of space. And then you get garage door buttons up top. There's also a sunglass holder, and then there's lights behind that and controls for the sunroof. So you can use that as needed. And then here's a look at visibility, where it's pretty easy to see over the right side. And then same with the left. You have a lot of glass to be able to view that way as well. And then to start this up, that is located with the 2 buttons that are also down below. So you can just push on that to start it up, where you'll notice a massive infotainment system along with the digital gauge cluster. Now on the steering wheel, on this right side, there's voice commands, the heated steering wheel adjustment, there's also tuning, a view button, and then on the left side, there's volume and all of the cruise control settings. So by using some of these controls, we can now go through the digital gauge cluster, where you can go through a good bit of information, and you'll notice the entire display will change depending on the information that you are viewing. So you'll notice you can pull up the navigation there, and you can also adjust what you would like to see on both sides. So you can even go to no display as well, so you won't have any info, but you'll still be able to see the tach there. And you can also minimize those by pushing on view. So now you can see more of the navigation as you would like to see, and you can still pull up some more information on that side too. So very nice to be able to go through this. You can click on view one more time and change it. So again, just depending on how you want to view this information, it's very configurable, which is nice to see. Now on this left side, you have a little bit of storage down below. There's all the headlight adjustments, really nice wood trim accent that actually disappears behind the screen and goes to the passenger side. Now this also has a head-up display, so it's showing miles per hour at the moment. There's also leather for the dash. Really neat trim accent on this passenger side where there's also the R logo on that far edge. And then working your way to this massive infotainment system, you have a lot to go through. You can bring up all these icons like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, get into the navigation. You can look at your climate adjustments, go through an off-road page too, so you can monitor the downhill assist, look at your steering angle too, and then you can even go into some of the displays here as well. Now there's also the ambient lighting, so you can change all of that. You can get into the seats as well for your driver and passenger, and even get into the massaging seats and your seating position. Now also up top, you can push on your favorites, and you can bring up some of these and add them as needed. There's also a shortcut to the engine start stop, navigation, and your phone. You can pull up your music. You can even add some more information depending on what you use the most. There's also a home button right in the middle in the lower section, so you can get to this angle. If you push on it again, you can get to a split view now to monitor all of this. Now also in the lower section, there's shortcuts to the heated and ventilated seats. You'll notice climate adjustments, so you can quickly push on those, and now you can view that in full screen, where there's also defrosters, the heated steering wheel, and you can get into the rear climates, even adjust the heated seats from up front, which is very helpful. You have where you'd like the air to go to, and then you can pull up the fan speed as well. There's temperature dials on both sides where you can use the screen, or you can just swipe your finger on this lower section. You can do the same thing with the volume right in the middle as well. And then to put this into reverse to show the camera system, that is located on the column for the steering wheel. So if I twist it forwards, that is for drive. Twist it towards yourself, that is for reverse. So you can bring up the camera system here where you have a few different angles that you can get into. You can even pull that up in full screen and hide that top-down view away. There's also the park assist as well, so you have parallel parking, which is fantastic to see. And then park is located on the end of that stalk. Now there's air vents underneath that, and then you have cup holders with a little bit of storage, and then you'll notice you do have a volume button down below. So you can actually push on this though and choose what you would like it to be. So you have volume. If you click down on it, now we have different driving modes that you can go through, and you can even get into some of these active modes here. So you can actually change the atmosphere where you are changing the gauge cluster and all of the lighting too. So pretty neat to see how configurable this center button is. And then there's the engine start stop and e-brake on both sides. Now there's also wireless charging down in the lower section here, along with some auxiliaries, and then there's plenty of storage located throughout this entire compartment where you have that removable tray. There's also plenty of space in the glove box, and then garage door buttons up top, touch sensitive dome lights, and controls for both the sunshade and sunroof. And then here's a look at visibility, where it's very easy to see. So you have quite a lot of glass for this SUV. And so we're in sport mode, second gear. Here we go. And with a light acceleration, we are up to speed. Paddles are pretty responsive, so you can use those as needed. And this is what it's like to be behind the wheel for the CX-5. Now, this is not a backroads type of vehicle like what I am on right now in terms of higher speed situations, things like that. But for these roads here, this handles very well. It's a compact SUV, so it's a little lower than a standard SUV, lower center of gravity too. So it'll be able to take roads like this well. Not that you're going around these corners quickly, but if you're taking a trip and you're on some back roads, this seems to handle very nicely for these types of situations. But it's a very nice vehicle to drive. I like for the pricing, you have a lot of the standard features that you would like to see. So if you don't want to necessarily spend $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 for a vehicle, you have pretty much all of the basics that you need in this model here. And again, just depending on what you would like to spend for this particular model, you have several options to go with. And I will say it's been nice to drive. We have some very nice materials on the armrest here, super comfortable driving position for your driver, and just a nice place to be. So if you want a brand new vehicle, you don't want to break the bank, it's still going to be an expensive vehicle. This is going to be a great brand new vehicle to go with. And from second gear, still in sport mode, here we go. So there is an S mode that the vehicle will go into. So you have S4, or you can twist it again and go back into drive.
So you will see a slight difference in the throttle response along with the shifting points when you put it into the S mode versus just normal driving. But this is what it's like to be behind the wheel for the new Tiguan. Definitely a great place to be with all of the tech features that I've gone over, and you can see it's really easy to go through everything as well. I know there's a lot of complaints with vehicles going away from physical buttons, so there's really no physical buttons within this screen, but where everything is laid out, having everything in the lower section fixed basically, super easy to go through. One of the best screens that I've used where you can go through all of that without having those actual physical buttons. So I think that's a really nice integration that they have done in this model. And it's got a good bit of power in the low end there to get up and move. And then again, from what I've seen, there should be some more power being added to the Tiguan in late 2025. So we'll just have to wait and see with any changes that are coming up for this model, which it's already a new refresh and redesign. So it'll be interesting to see what's to come for the rest of the lineup and trim accents. You also sit pretty low. It's more of a crossover SUV, but you have a good outlook over the hood too, and a very easy vehicle to place and drive. So if you're in the city a lot, you're commuting into parking lots and things like that as you would expect, it's going to be very easy to park, and it still offers a lot of interior space too. So you can pack this full of items, and it can be a very practical, smaller SUV if it's your only vehicle.
So coming back to final thoughts now between the Mazda and the Volkswagen, honestly, these are both really cool compact SUVs that have a good bit to offer. Now I will say I do like the interior of the Volkswagen better simply because of the massive touchscreen system. I know that might not be everyone's favorite. A lot of people do like the system in the Mazda here. I just like the touch screens. I have a large screen like that in my personal vehicle that is touchscreen. I think that's so much simpler and easier to use, but a lot of people like the controls for the Mazda here. That's just my one complaint. I wish everything was touchscreen. But aside from that, they're going to drive very nice. They're going to give you a good bit of interior space, again, for their smaller sizing. And they're both going to be compact enough to drive around the city, to have people in it, to pack it full of items. They are really nice, smaller size options to go with, just depending on what you like, both for the interior options along with the exterior design. So comment down below. I think I would really go with Volkswagen on this one just because of the screen. I do like some of the styling elements a little bit better, but this is a really nice option to go with as well. So let me know your thoughts down below. Would you rather go Mazda or would you go with the Volkswagen? Two great options, a lot of trim levels between both of them with a huge price range, so it just depends on your budget and the features that you are looking to get. We have very comparable vehicles, so it's a toss-up. Drive both of them to see which one suits you best. And again, let me know your thoughts and why you chose to go Mazda or Volkswagen. If you enjoyed today's head-to-head comparison, give it a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with our daily uploads. I'll see you all in the next video.